I'm going to do a full breakdown of the original Black Christmas on my podcast this month. So for this right now, I will do the 2006 version. Let's do it. So Black Christmas takes place in the Delta Alpha Kappa sorority home on Christmas Eve. Our opening scene is of this girl named Claire, and she is sitting in her room drinking wine, wrapping presents, minding her own fucking business, and then she is overtaken by somebody and offed. We then cut to a mental asylum for the criminally insane where we see somebody escaping by killing a Santa and then dressing up as that Santa and just walking out the front door. And the patient who escaped is none other than Billy Lenz, who previously lived in the Delta Alpha Kappa home. So we find out about Billy's upbringing through flashbacks throughout the movie. We find out that Billy was born with severe jaundice, and he was also really abused by his mother. She never really wanted him. And when Billy is about 5 years old, Constance and her boyfriend murder her husband, aka Billy's father. And Billy witnesses the whole thing, and because of that, they decide to lock him in the attic for the rest of his life, essentially. No idea how CPS never picked up on this. Anyway, years later, it shows Constance and her boyfriend doing the deed, but he is unable to do so. So she goes up to the attic and essays Billy. And 9 months later, her daughter Agnes is born. So Agnes is Billy's sister/daughter. To nobody's surprise, one day Billy snaps, and on Christmas Day he attacks Agnes, which causes her to lose one of her eyes. He then proceeds to off his mother and her boyfriend. He then takes a cookie cutter to his mother's back and proceeds to make cookies out of her. And he's sitting there nonchalantly eating them when the police arrive to take him away to the insane asylum. It's absolutely fucking vile. So again, Billy escapes. Now he's on his way to his childhood home, which again is the sorority home filled with these young girls and their house mother. So Claire's already dead, and then another sorority sister, Megan, starts to hear noises coming from the attic and goes to investigate. Horror 101, you don't do that. So obviously, she's offed. Mind you, the rest of the girls in the house have no idea that this is going on, and they just assume that Claire and Megan went home for Christmas because they're all waiting to do so. So we have Lauren, Dana, Heather, Melissa, and the house mother, Mrs. Mack. And we also have Kelly. They're all just sitting there minding their own business. Lauren is drinking super heavily. They're all exchanging Secret Santa gifts. And a Secret Santa tradition that they do in the sorority is to leave a gift to Billy. Kind of a weird fucking tradition considering what the man did, but whatever. And all of a sudden they get a really threatening and creepy phone call. They think nothing of it. They know the cops won't do anything if they just got one phone call. Heather gets a Secret Santa gift from this other sorority sister, Eve, who's just like super weird and sketchy. She's like the red herring. They try to make us think that she's somehow in on this. So they realize that the call they got came from Megan's phone. So they go upstairs to her bedroom to investigate, where they find Kyle, Kelly's boyfriend. And when Kelly goes in Megan's room to search for her and Claire, she finds a video on Megan's computer of her and Kyle doing the deed. So they all band together and they're like, fuck you, Kyle, get out of here. And when they all go downstairs, they find Lee, who is Claire's sister, who's here to pick her up. And she's like, she's not answering me. She's not home yet. She has to be here somewhere. Reminder, Claire was the first one to lose her life. She didn't even stand a chance. So they're all like, that's weird. We thought Claire left, and then the power goes out, obviously. So Dana goes underneath the house to the main breaker to try to get the power back on, but when she's under there, she is attacked by the killer and offed. But when she doesn't come back, the girls realize that something's wrong, so they go outside to go find her. And instead they find Eve dead in her car. R.I.P. Eve, sorry we thought you were in on it. So at this point, they all call the police, but the police are like, there's a blizzard. We're not going to get there for like at least 2 hours. Fucking useless. So they're trying to make a plan, and Mrs. Mack and Heather want to try and get in the car to leave to go get help. But Lee and the other girls are like, no, we're not leaving our sisters. Fuck that. We're staying here. At this point, Lauren is like dead asleep upstairs because she got too drunk. So Melissa's like, yeah, I'm not leaving her either. So Mrs. Mack and Heather make it to the car, but they can't go anywhere yet because they have to de-ice it. This takes place in New Hampshire. If you're a New Englander, you get it. But they don't make it too far because Heather is offed in the car by an unseen assailant, and then Mrs. Mack gets startled and is offed by a falling icicle of all ways. So Kelly and Lee go to the garage to see what's going on because they realize the car hasn't left yet, so they know something's up. Meanwhile, Melissa stays in the house and then is attacked and offed as well. Kelly and Lee come back inside where they find Lauren lifeless in her bed. So the killer got to her while she was asleep too. Her eyes gone, no longer in her head. And then at this point, Kyle shows back up. Weird. So now it's him, Kelly, and Lee, and the three of them decide to go investigate the attic. Why the fuck everybody thinks to keep going investigating the attic, I don't fucking know. And as he's doing that, he is dragged up and offed. R.I.P. Kyle, sorry, I thought you were in on it too. But now we find out who the real killer is. Because obviously we know that Billy is in on it, but it's also Agnes, all grown up. After Billy's spree, Agnes was taken to an orphanage and then was never heard from since. And that's because she's been living in the attic of her childhood home this whole time. Agnes then shows Kelly and Lee this very disturbing scene of this Christmas tree set up, and around the Christmas tree are the bodies of all the sorority sisters that she just ended, including Lee's sister Claire. And their eyes gone, all of them. Why? Oh, because Agnes likes to chomp on them as a little snack. And if that's not bad enough, Billy shows up as well. So a struggle ensues, which leads Lee and Kelly into like the crawl spaces in between the house, and that's kind of how Agnes has been navigating this whole time. But the two of them manage to fight off Billy and Agnes, and they set a fire to the house, leaving them to burn inside. So all is well, day saved. Just fucking kidding. So Lee and Kelly end up being taken to the hospital. We see somebody in the morgue going to unzip one of the body bags, and it's Billy's, but he is not yet dead. He pops out of that body bag and kills the morgue employee. And then he unzips Agnes's body bag because obviously she's still alive as well. So Kelly leaves the room to go get an x-ray, and Lee goes to find her and instead finds Agnes, who then offs her. So she made it this far just to be killed in the hospital. She then goes to attack Kelly, but Kelly uses a defibrillator to off her. Agnes out. And then our boy Billy comes for her. Another struggle ensues, but Kelly ends up managing to overpower him and throws him over a balcony, where he is then impaled by the top of a Christmas tree and dies. It's all really very poetic.